Hey, Jen.
Morning, Doug. How's it going? Looks like you're up and early in Salem.
Yeah, I'm not in the building yet, so I might be off camera for a while.
Okay.
Morning, Jen.
Good
I'm
morning.
gonna
How's it going?
good, except I am not feeling great, so I'm
Oh,
keeping my camera off today, just so
okay.
you know.
Thank you.
And that's yeah, okay.
I
I'll
don't think
be
we have anything up for health
here.
services anyways.
Well, for Paul Partridge
Oh,
for
yeah, that's
IDD.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay,
The big one.
good to see you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
I heard recording in progress, but it's still right before the top of the hour. So we'll stand by for a few moments.
Sounds good. And just for your information, Commissioner Chang is traveling this morning. He's going to try to join by audio in the car, but may or may not be available.
That's fine. Yeah, as I say, this is, we'll do kind of a survey of what the big picture is right now, and then we got to try to get focused on each item best we can. I'm looking for in my email for the last bill report.
I can tell you what time I sent it if that's helpful.
Yeah, what day and what time?
Yesterday exactly at noon.
Okay, I was close.
There's a couple items listed in there too.
Yeah, I don't see it. My noon, Thursday at noon, you're saying?
And I forget to BCC the board. Occasionally I do that.
Commissioner, this is Angie. It's also on the portal and I can email it to you right now.
I'm emailing it over. Sorry, I think I
Yeah.
forgot to BCC the board.
Yeah, that's
My
fine.
apologies.
Eh, we'll get there.
So I just sent it to all three of you, so
Okay,
there
thank
may
you.
be a delay in.
Well, yeah, do we have any? Okay, so let's get started here. This is our Deschutes County Legislative Update Meeting, Friday, May 2nd, 8 o'clock in the morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. See, we have 20 folks on here. So yeah, kind of a review for me, Jen. Do we have action items in the bill list specifically, kind of highlighted items?
We have two, and one of them is from Commissioner Dare, who I don't see on at this moment. And then one, DA Gunnels and DB, I think, I don't see her yet, and potentially Holly. So that, so the two are 2597, which is on page one, which Commissioner Dare wanted to talk about. And then page 7, which is HB 3069. And I think there's a coordinated response here from several departments, but I believe DA Gunnels is prepared to talk about that one.
Okay.
So those are the two from the bill report. I don't see Commissioner Chang or Commissioner Dare on the call.
Okay, a couple more people joining us as we speak. I see Doug Riggs is available. Thanks for joining us, Doug.
Jen, this is Stevie. Can you hear/see me?
Oh, there you are. Sorry, The Rock. I
Yes.
did see that. And
Thanks.
thanks for pointing that out. And I do see that Commissioner Dare is on the Zoom as well.
Okay, good morning, Commissioner. So we were notified that Commissioner Chang may be mobile today, so he may dial in for the audio. So an update from myself, EDCO and a couple folks are meeting generally weekly, Wednesdays at 3 o'clock. So there's a list of bills that have been following. One of them was this 974 kind of permit shot clock for land use. I don't know if Peter's available. I haven't had time to kind of go back and see the position of AOC and LOC and where some of these things are going, but that's one that came up. Condo liability bill. I don't have that number offhand. So these are just the topics that were reviewed recently. And then for utilities, so Senate Bill 926, cost recovery for utilities, was a topic. And as I said, these are some of the numbers, some of the topics, and I don't even have the clarity on the position and the history on that right now, but just so everybody understands, there's an economic development review of some of these bills too. So as something gets more acute, I'll either bring it here, or at least you'll see me respond with that hat on sometimes. Commissioner Dare, anything this morning?
Yes, actually, I mentioned it to Jen a couple days ago. It's House Bill 2597. It has to do with dental. Two of the people that are at the Health Council meeting consistently, Gary Allen, who is actually on the board, and then Michael Shercliffe, have been really pushing this because dental healthcare is like the start to your whole physical health. And they really feel like this bill has the merit that we should be supporting. It is checking in with Doug. It is in Ways and Means, one out, I believe 50 bills in Ways and Means. But if we as Deschutes County could give some support to this bill, I think it would really be important. Every time I talk about our health issues in our world today, they always go back to the relationship to people and the health of their mouth and how that flows out. So I would really, what if we can make a difference here? The financial, what is it, the 14th? It's only like a week and a half away when we're going to know the forecast for the state. But if we could get this bill funded, I think that would be excellent.
So yeah, that is on the top of our bill list. 2597 directs Oregon Health Authority coordinate care organizations to reimburse dental care for dental services provided to medical assistance recipients at a rate no less than 59.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the key. It's kind of dialing something in there. So yeah, since you mentioned that and that's your one topic, is Commissioner Chang out there?
Well,
I don't see that he's dialed in.
Okay.
my
I'm just saying.
my other topic is the Juniper bill that I drove, hundreds of hours last Friday to Klamath Falls. And that Juniper bill, the 5.2 million, that could be such an opportunity. It's 585,000 for Deschutes County alone. 7 counties in total will be receiving funding, but that could make such a difference for all those people that are contacting me now that really need some help in cleaning up their property. So I'm just hoping that one will get some more support from other people that have terrible juniper allergies that I know right now. Not only are they, Roman candles, they suck up all the water, but they definitely create a highly allergic Central Oregon this time of year.
Okay, yeah, so we'll get back to the bill list and that 2597, and then do you know a Juniper bill number specifically?
3135, I believe.
And it is, yeah, as I say, I kind of got lost personally about numbers and bills. I know the concept, so maybe we'll get back to some of the numbers. So with that, Doug Riggs, thanks for joining us. Do you have an update this morning? What's the feeling in the House? I mean, in the Capitol.
Yeah, thanks, commissioners and staff. Good to see all of you on this bright, sunny Friday morning. Haven't gone into the Capitol yet. It's too nice to go inside, so I'm going to sit out here for a few extra minutes before I have to go in. Busy times. very busy times. Ways and Means has both the capital construction subcommittee as well as the full Ways and Means committee meeting this morning. And then, interestingly, for all of you behavioral health folks, you might want to tune in. There's a behavioral health task force meeting on OLIS today. I think it's at 1 o'clock. This is the behavioral health task force that met during the interim and has not met since the interim, chaired by Senator Kate Lieber. But they're apparently going to dive into what they see as the needs for investigation and study during the interim. So if you have time, flip on OLIS, 1 o'clock. It's on the schedule of meetings list right on the very front page. So we're about 2 weeks out from the revenue forecast. That will be the most important announcement of the entire session. The revenue forecast will come out on or about May 14th. I've had conversations with a number of finance and revenue committee members. They're getting a little advance notice. I think the economist is more worried about mid to long term than he is about short term. It appears that revenues may be stable in this particular forecast, perhaps up a slight amount, but not much. But they're very worried about the long-term impact of potential federal cuts on the state budget. So that revenue forecast will be used to craft the budget. In the meantime, I'm told that Ways and Means is crafting various scenarios. They're crafting a budget for a scenario with a flat or slightly increased revenue forecast, but they're also crafting budget options for cuts or holding back an awful lot of money and then making decisions in the fall based on what the federal government may or may not do in the state. Both of those options would not bode well for many of the programs that we support. As you recall, back in 2011 and 2009, that was the tack that the legislature took. They put off funding programs, and so entire programs collapsed. The entire Children and Families program was shut down in 2013, and with it went an awful lot of programs that made a difference in kids' lives. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with that. We're past the House deadlines. We're coming up on the second chamber deadlines in about a week, which means that Senate bills that are in the House have to get out of committees. House bills that are in the Senate have to get out of committees. And then really that becomes the sprint towards the end of the session that will occur really very quickly. Big topics, transportation, we're still waiting. We keep waiting. We've been told for 3 weeks now that an accountability package would come out. We've seen no accountability package. In the meantime, the House Republicans have come out with their own proposal, which cuts about $750 million out of ODOT, existing ODOT funding, including all the STIF funding. That's $306 million. So all the STIF funding is eliminated in that budget. I think that'll be a problem for local governments, something to be very concerned about. But we haven't seen the overall package or the accountability measures yet. And the governor has made no comments or statements about changes that she'll make at ODOT, which I think is really problematic. So that's one big issue. Housing infrastructure, which we're all concerned about. A couple bills on the agenda today that we'll talk about. The housing infrastructure continues to be a big issue. SDCs continue to be a big issue and talked about quite a bit in the Capitol. And then there are kind of the 30,000 foot issues that are becoming contentious and controversial, including Senate Bill 916. Senate Bill 916 is the bill that would allow public employees who go on strike to receive benefits during that strike from the Unemployment Trust Fund. And that is very popular with about half of the people in the building and very unpopular with about half the people in the building. So that's been very contentious, and it's taken up a lot of time in hearings and floor sessions. Continue to work with our delegation, keep them up to date. And then I'd also point out that we've got
Commissioner Dare has a question for you real quick.
Oh, sorry.
So Doug, I know a couple Democratic senators voted against it in the Senate. I'm working on it because 75% of the counties are going to be in really extreme financial hurt if that thing passes. What is it looking like now in the House?
That was Senate Bill 916 you're referring to?
Yes, Senate Bill 916. Yeah. Yes, where you get unemployment if you're on strike. Because why would you ever go back to work?
Yeah, Commissioner, that's a good question. I would say one thing, which is that because the bill is taking so long, that illustrates the fact that it's having it does not have the votes yet, or maybe losing votes. So I do think there are lots of questions. You know, the later we get in session and bills like this are not passed, the more difficult it gets to get them through and over the finish line. And then especially if amendments are adopted in the House on a Senate bill, that would mean that the bill would have to go back to the Senate for concurrence. So another opportunity to put some roadblocks up in its way.
Thanks. Sounds better than I thought.
Great, thank you.
The other complicating factor I'll point out here is that Senator Aaron Woods, who was one of the Democrats in the supermajority, passed away a couple of weeks ago. He had cancer. Everyone thought it was in remission. But about 2 months ago, he stopped coming to Salem and passed away really relatively quickly. So at least for the moment, in the Senate, there's no supermajority. And the same thing is true in the House, where Representative Wah-Win is fighting cancer and she is unable to be in the building. So for floor votes, there's no supermajority in the House either. So on tax votes, that complicates any effort to increase taxes on a variety of issues. So that's just some context. That's where we are in the session. You know, people remain collegial to each other, but the tensions are increasing as the weeks go by.
Great. Well, thanks for representing. We do see you in many different ways here. So this is, yeah, escalating moments in the Capitol. Just for your information, I'm going to be in town on Tuesday and Wednesday, radio conference, SIEC. It's a group that gets together. We'll be at the OEM building. I'm going to dial into our board meeting Wednesday morning. I mentioned this at our board meeting the other day. So I'll be in Salem, but dialing in Wednesday. Tuesday evening, we're having kind of a resource and technology open house. So I'm going to be working with Sage Shiatori from OEM. You probably see him in the building, and do a little invitation to the legislators. It's just if anybody can come by, come see the technology, meet the SIEC, which is Public Safety, 911, ODOT, all kinds of cross-section of people in the technology and communications world. So you may see an email about that, Doug. Thank you. Okay, yeah, so at this point, let's work through the bill list and then any other department heads or folks that want to jump in. So Commissioner Dare mentioned 2597, Oregon Health Authority Dental. She's proposing a support position, and I'm fine with that too. You know, a lot of this is going to go to Ways and Means, and it'll be a big list of capital asks or dollar asks, and there'll be a line having to be drawn somewhere, but I'm supportive for this, Commissioner Dare.
It's actually already in Ways and Means. I believe, Doug, last time you told me there were 50 bills in Ways and Means. Are there 100 now?
There are 502 bills in Ways and Means, and that's about double the number of bills that were in Ways and Means during the last long session, which is kind of surprising. I think a lot of us thought there might be fewer bills in Ways and Means this time, but actually there are more. So it's a lot of bills for the Ways and Means Committee to take a look at in the last 8 weeks of the session.
So we can take a position too of support. I'd be supportive of that, Commissioner Dare.
Thank you. Jen, maybe if I could do a letter at least and recognize that I'm on the Health Council, and that would be great.
Is there somebody from Health Council who can draft language for a letter that you're looking for?
Or maybe I could call Gary Allen, Gary Allen and Michael Shercliffe, and ask them.
Great. Happy to work with that.
And I support, a simple dental visit, checking blood pressure and pulse and, oral health. That can be a moment for somebody that hasn't paid attention to their health for a long time. So I'm supportive. Okay, Jen, next for us.
Next, I just wanted to quickly address Commissioner Dare brought up 3135, the Juniper bill. So that's also in Ways and Means. The commissioners have previously taken a 2 support on that. So I don't think there's any further action at this juncture on that, just to acknowledge the acknowledgement of that bill. So then we're going to jump to page 7, which is.
And if I could just jump in on 3135, that as you guys recall was the the new Juniper bill, the Juniper funding, what started out in 3078, and then got moved to 3135, which is Vicky Briz Iverson bill. The delegation worked closely on that. We updated the language in the original bill, so it's a -1 amendment. And the good thing is that Emerson Levy is the vice chair of the subcommittee on natural resources and ways and means. So she's in a very good position to help us out on that. And so I'm fairly optimistic that that'll be one of the natural resources elements that will be funded.
Great, thanks for the update, Doug. All right, page 7, HB 3069, we have DA Gunnels available to talk about this bill as well as DV. I'll turn it over to Gunnels.
Thanks, Jen. So House Bill 3069, I believe DV and Holly and Doug will likely have input into this. I think this is a bill that's getting a lot of discussion in the Capitol right now. And there's a lot of input from interested parties about how it is going to turn out. But the idea behind it, as I understand it, is the legislature, Representative Krupp, wants to streamline the CJC grant application process and put counties kind of at the center of the application process, so that when the county would apply every biennium for grants, they would kind of put them all into the same bucket, so to speak, and request an allotment of money from CJC to fulfill all of the grant needs of the county. We would be able to, the county that is, would be able to decide what's best for us and what we need, and how even how the metrics of each program would be determined. Ultimately, it would be up to CJC to review how the grants are working. And the ultimate goal of the CJC grants is to reduce prison utilization, or that's one of the main goals, to reduce prison utilization and to reduce recidivism. So that's kind of the big picture. One of the things that it does that is potentially concerning for counties is it reduces the acceptable administrative cost for the administration of grants to 3%, which is less, I think in some cases significantly less than programs and counties currently spend on administrative costs. I think that's more in the 8 to 9% range typically for counties. So that would be something that we would have to take into account when making grant requests. One of the ideas of this is to eliminate the grant review committees that are currently in place. I'm on one grant review committee, particularly rambunctious grant review committee that is probably the performance of the impacts grant review committee, which is the one I'm on, is likely one of the reasons for this change, because when the deflection programs were up in front of that committee, it was shambolic, I guess, the approach of the committee, and it was very rough. And it caused a lot of heartburn for the legislators who thought that they had created a pretty smooth application process, and then it turned into a food fight in the committee. So this could be a good thing. I would say from my point of view, we don't have enough detail and we don't have enough finality to know exactly how this is going to come out and whether it would be good or bad for us. I do like the idea of the counties having more control and also simplifying the grant application process and going directly to CJC, assuming CJC stays essentially how they are now, which is a pretty reliable partner organization for us in public safety. But the makeup of CJC could change dramatically as well, and that would change my perception of sending grant applications to CJC. So that's a lot right there.
Great, thank you. Did DV have thoughts on this? Is that the same domain?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Thanks, DA. So yeah, I think Steve gave a great summary of the grant. We don't quite know enough about the details, which of course is where things can fall apart. For your attention, I would flag that I don't think it does a sufficient enough job as written to respect or to lean on the role of the local public safety coordinating councils, which are supposed to exist, and in our county luckily does exist, to take that kind of coordinated look. So I like the idea of streamlining some of the processes, and as commissioners, you would probably appreciate this because you would not have 6 or 7 different grant applications to review and approve. You would just have one, but the work is still being done in the specific program areas that are going to be available. The administrative burden on us and on as a county and on practitioners is no less. The administrative burden is lightened for CJC. That's the goal. It really isn't to lighten our burden, I don't think, as far as I can tell. So that's a bit of a concern, especially if they drop then the administrative fee or administrative rate that we can claim, because there really is quite a bit of reporting, program design, meeting with CJC, talking about outcomes. That is all administrative in nature. You don't have a PO who's able to look at a dashboard and produce evidence and results that CJC requires for you to continue getting that, funding. So that is a bit of a concern. Lack of kind of understanding where LPSC sits at the moment is a bit of a concern. And I think there was a third one. Oh, just sort of, what does it do when, talk about administrative burden, if there's one grant opportunity, right? One grant timeline, but it's got 7 or 8 different specific programs, which is the case, that might be administered by 4 or 5 different community and county agencies. The time frame for that, the coordination for that, for us to get together, I just think it's a lot more work for the counties, certainly in a transitional period, and will absolutely require coordination and communication so that one entity is not forgotten. We all get very busy in our lanes, which is good for us because we're doing great work, but we have to, it's a lot more work. It may ultimately be good for the state, which may ultimately be good for us. But I would like us to tread carefully and look at the details before supporting it.
Yeah, it looks like Doug's got a comment here.
Yeah, thanks for both of you. I think those are really good observations about the bill. Just a little background on the bill. This is something that I've heard Representative Krupp talk about in a variety of hearings this year. And so it's been on his radar screen. The -1 amendment, which was a fairly significant overhaul of the bill, just came out a week ago, and now there's a -2 as well. So this is a Representative Krupp concept. I think that the issues raised by the district attorney and by DV are really key, which is that number one, you can't expect a county to operate a program with a 3% administrative rate and meet all the guidelines and requirements that they're putting in the bill. So the reporting requirements, the contracting requirements, et cetera, I think are going to be very difficult to meet on that 3%. There was actually a comment by Representative Mannix during a hearing that Emma and I sat through on Wednesday. He said, well, maybe we can incentivize 2 or 3 counties to get together and then we'll give them 5%. Or 4%. So I think it is important for us to communicate to the legislature that the administrative cost to do what they want is higher than 3%. The second thing is the timing. These may or may not be very good ideas. I think streamlining is a good idea, and I think that Deschutes County is a high-performing county in a lot of these areas. Will do quite well, but the question is, here in the middle of the biennium to make this kind of a change doesn't make an awful lot of sense. So I think the other thing we need to communicate to Representative Krupp his timing about this. So those are the two comments that I'd make. I think it would be very good if we have some constructive ideas for the amendment, that we put those down on paper, and maybe we can put a letter together to Representative Krupp. And then I think he would be, I talked to his staff, and I think he's very open to having a Zoom call with us, with our staff, to kind of chat through. So I think he's open to constructive engagement and suggestions on this.
That's, yeah, wonderful. I'm seeing, you know, a piece of paper pretty quick here, a letter, as I say, DV and DA Gunnels, you can definitely put it together, drop the bullet points in. Jen can help get it organized. Invite the representative to a Zoom call like this, maybe next Friday morning at 7:30 if we have something like that scheduled, or any other time, because this is the topic of the day. So then the proposal is maybe a priority one. You know, for the moment, it's a high priority. There may be some good parts to this. There may be some bad parts to this. So I don't know if we want to, you know, we say watch there, and I support that at this time, but get engaged is the message. Commissioner Dare, you support getting a letter out and then doing the invitation for a video call?
That would be excellent. Thank you.
Great. I'll work with everyone to
Yeah.
go on next steps on that one.
And yeah, just any content's going to be valuable because it'll kick off the conversation.
Yeah, our next meeting with the legislatures is 2 weeks from today. So maybe that's too far out to
Yeah.
wait for that. So we'll work internally to see if we can push that a separate call forward.
And yeah, anytime next, maybe Thursday or Friday, just because it'll give us that time to jump into it.
Great.
DA Gunnels.
I was just going to say, I think it would be good for Holly to be involved in that discussion as well.
Oh, that's fine.
And I would point out that we are very fortunate in Deschutes County because we have very good collaboration among the people involved in the criminal justice system, mental health, parole and probation, community corrections. LIPSIC is a well-functioning organization in our county and not so much in other places. And so, however this comes out, I have a feeling that we will do all right. But we need to be heard by Representative Krupp so that he knows what our concerns are and maybe make some adjustments to the bill as it is.
Yeah, yeah, Gunnels, I echo those comments. Just a couple other things that came up during the hearing. One is the proposed membership of the commission would be an 11-member commission. It would have a county representative on in the initial proposal, but there was quite a bit of concern that 11 members total to review all these grant applications wouldn't have the expertise in all 5 or 6 or 7 areas, and so there is concern about the expertise that might be missing from a limitation of 11 members of the commission. The second is that I'll share with you that the League of Oregon Cities is very unhappy because there's no city proposed representative on that commission. And while in our county we're very highly functioning and the county does very well and the LIPSIC's involved and engages many multiple stakeholders, in other parts of the state that's not true, and cities have to take on a bigger role. So that's another issue that came up. But there was quite a long discussion on this bill on Wednesday night. It went on for the better part of an hour and lots of engagement by members. So I would say that, you know, this is a bill that probably has legs, probably will move in some way, shape, or form. And we have an opportunity with the chairman as the sponsor to be able to have some good input with this.
Well, so then, yeah, priority wise, let's look for that sit down and maybe give him the wide open opportunity to meet with us whenever he's available. So, you know, just to make sure the runway is real easy for him to sit down with us.
I'll reach out today.
Great. Thank you. So we'll leave it a one watch, knowing that we're getting engaged.
So that's it for our bill track report. Next up, we have Paul Partridge online to talk to us about foster licensing and potentially need to engage legislatively on this. So I'll turn it over to Paul.
Thanks, Jen. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I wanted to bring this topic to the board's attention in particular. It doesn't show up as a bill number, so I'm not going to reference a bill number. It's really part of the Ways and Means budget for Human Services, and it was resultant of the reductions exercise that departments have to go through and what was submitted in the governor's revised budget to Legislative Finance Office. And the proposed reduction was removal or shifting of the funding to community developmental disability programs like ours to conduct licensing activities for foster homes in our community. It would be shifting those duties statewide. It's about 38 full-time equivalent positions over to the Office of Developmental Disabilities at the state level with about 20 positions. So the concerns that we have obviously is shifting of duties out of local authority and centralized to the state. That's going to result in not only loss of positions, but I personally, and I think many of my colleagues share this concern, is that it is going to impact the relationships that our office has with our local providers. We worry that centralizing that duty, is it really going to be cost savings? They were projecting, I think, a $2 million cost saving by making the shift. But when you start to pencil out, paying state wages because they're at a higher classification than our workers are, and centralizing it and the travel involved with trying to get to every corner of Oregon, many of us are very concerned that it would really be a cost savings. They have not shown us the fiscal impact study that was done to really show that. So yeah, and I have some talking points that AOCMHP lobbyist has developed for us. But that's it in a nutshell, Holly.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
So do me a favor and go back to the very beginning. So what because I followed the topics, but now I need to remember, what are we talking about here? So locally, we're doing certifications or
Commissioner, locally we as part of our CDDP
what's that
contract, Community Developmental Disability Programs. That's the program that I supervise. Part of that, in addition to case management, is also licensing and certification of both adult and child foster homes in our community.
So counties are doing that license.
Counties do that now.
I'm just making sure I'm understanding the very beginning of this.
Yep. Counties do that now.
Bring it in. Okay, that's what I needed to understand, just real clear. Okay, Holly, please proceed. I just wanted to make sure we're informed here.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of a complicated topic if you're not well versed in the IDD system. So I think the other thing to note is that the state does oversee licensing for other things within the system, and they have not shown to really do a good job with it. They're behind. It's a little messy, so it doesn't really make sense for them to take on more in this area and call it efficient and call it cost savings when they haven't really a proven track record of actually being able to do it well. So we're just generally not supportive. I mean, I think our teams, we think our local control is going to be better outcome for the people that we serve and for these foster providers to get local support from people that are right in their community versus having to try to track down somebody from the state to try to get some support and technical assistance. It's just not going to happen. So that's our take on it. And we'd love to kind of let our legislators know about this, because I think this is one of those things that's sort of been under the radar and not many people are talking about, and we'd like to get it in front of them.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Dare.
Okay. Is the state still in charge of that phone answering system that we used to do here locally? And they had like a 40-minute wait time before you could actually get help. Is that still going on? I haven't asked about that lately, Holly. Is it still as inefficient and ineffective as it was when they took it over?
Yes. I mean, it's the short answer. I mean, we've just stopped complaining about it.
Disgusting. Yeah. Thank you, Holly. Yeah. Is that what you were testifying, Paul, on in Klamath Falls then?
No, I was testifying on just our fully funding our community developmental disability program budgets on the whole, but no, this was not a topic of testimony. Jacob Bell felt like if we started offering testimony through AOCMHP, it was one gonna potentially water down our cause toward fully funding our programs, and also that it might invite some unflattering comments back from department. One of the motivators that we have heard from ODDS, the State Office of Developmental Disabilities, is that there are significant quality issues by county programs doing these duties, and ultimately it is the state's responsibility. They delegate it to us, but this is not an efficient or cost-effective means at addressing a quality issue. Ultimately, it is quality is their responsibility, and they've done very little to formalize, structure around how we do the work or do anything corrective, to try to shore up QA.
Last night I was at an event for the collective, and the housing that they do, they're the most unknown group in our area, but the people that they're helping house it's really a wonderful program. So anyway, thank you, Paul.
So where do we be
Absolutely.
strategic on this? What's the next step?
Yeah, I mean, I think
go ahead,
we were
Holly.
planning to talk about when the legislators come in the next 2 weeks. We were hoping to have a conversation at that time to get them in the loop on this, and then might have some more in-depth one-on-one conversations with our local delegation. I think we don't necessarily, like Paul said, have the backing of all of AOCMHP on this because they're being strategic in their asks at the state level. But Paul and I and several other CDDPs across the state feel strongly about this issue, and so would like to just do our own advocacy to move the needle.
So I may see some legislators next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. Maybe if someone could help me understand, who's strategic in there, and a couple bullet points, even just one piece of paper, having it in my hand may be very valuable next Tuesday and Wednesday.
We can do that for sure.
Thank you.
And CC me on the AOC MHP points.
We will.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Jen, anything else?
Yeah, next up, Doug just wanted to flag several bills and provide an update on the transportation package. And I see we have Chris on as well. So I don't know if Chris is ready to, he's got his hand raised, so we'll go right there.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. Let me lower my hand. Just want to point out, that within this transportation funding package, and generally the framework in general is that counties are almost exclusively funded through our share of the state highway fund. And so right now in terms of the funding package, everyone's focused on ODOT and ODOT accountability, but there's not a big voice for counties, and I'm not sure that the legislative delegation, our specific legislators, fully understand that when, they're, taking aim at ODOT, they're actually completely obliterating county road department funding opportunities. And a big chunk of that goes to cities as well, half of that. The current framework is set up, to really fund operations and maintenance in ODOT and the cities and counties. That's the bulk of this funding framework. The other piece of it is tied to the mega projects in the Portland area, and that has its own funding mechanism attached to it. I would encourage our board, as you're talking to our representatives, have them take aim at the piece that where the accountability stuff truly needs to reside in that project stuff, not in the operations and maintenance. The fact that they're taking aim at the entire package and really obliterate, trying to do away with any talk of a transportation funding package this session is just highly detrimental to Deschutes County, exceptionally detrimental to every other county in this state and city as well. and just making a speech, but let's take advantage if we can of every opportunity to remind them of that, and perhaps they can readjust their frustrations towards where it can belong, and we can get through this thing without throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
So, Chris, you might have said something in passing there. Do you think this is such a big, kind of complicated, heavy issue that they may get less done than they intend? Is that kind of what you were thinking? Or
yeah, I mean, the framework that really hasn't gone into a bill yet has everything in it, and it's there to be a la carte adjusted if necessary, and certainly they're big funding amounts too. And but this is a result of a very comprehensive process that the Joint Transportation Committee took on last year, and got everything on the table. Mm-hmm. And it's disheartening, to see folks not, kind of jump back into that and try to work through what they're having, discomfort with, and instead, taking aim at really a regressive pullback on some of the funding that came into the package in 2017. So, we can hopefully steer that conversation a little bit back to, let's work in that framework. Let's work in that a la carte menu, so to speak, of how it's put together. Work on the accountability portions, and we've certainly piped up with that when it comes to project labor agreements and other things we think could, really improve, how the package is presented. So if opportunities present themselves with our delegation and others,
yeah,
let's try to take advantage if we can.
Great. Doug. Oh, Doug Riggs, I'm still on mute. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Yeah. Just I don't think that the House Republican package has legs. It doesn't even have legs with Senate Republicans, largely because of what Chris said, which is it cuts a huge amount of funding to local counties and cities, which is really important for our local constituents. There are opportunities for efficiency, though, and that's really what I expressed at the very beginning, which is I think they've a little bit put the cart before the horse. If I had been in charge, I would have first come out with a set of accountability measures to say, hey, we hear you. We understand that ODOT has not been accountable, that they haven't been efficient. I would have started with that and then led into, but we need funding to be able to do these important projects. So, as a taxpayer, I'm happy to pay something if I see I'm getting something in return. I've got safety on 97. The passes are plowed and safe in the winter. We're finishing the big construction projects and putting contractors and employees to work. But I think they really need to come out with that accountability package, and I'm hoping that's going to come out very soon. Jen, there are a couple other bills I wanted to highlight before we get to 9 o'clock. Is now a good time to go through those?
Well, let's wrap up with the commissioners to make sure they didn't have any more questions on Chris's update in the transportation package.
Yeah, Commissioner Dare, you had your hand up for a moment.
I actually was at the transportation meeting last Wednesday, and I was talking to Chair Brown about their finances need a complete overhaul at ODOT. That $1.1 billion error they had on their financial statements, I don't know how it either got there or stayed there, but the fact that it is never going to be recognized is a serious issue. And, how many people have actually been replaced in their financial department? Too many people had to know. That was too significant of a number, Chris, that we can't just keep glossing over what is happening in Salem. Like, how far over is the capital construction project? We haven't even heard about it. I mean, Doug, like, how many years has that been going on? So anyhow, I just feel like ODOT really, in order to have a bit more transparency, they need to clean up their finances.
Thank you very much. So moving on from transportation, other items, Doug.
Yeah, I just want to mention a couple things. Senate Bill 75 passed. had a hearing. It looks like it's going to pass. I was a little bit worried about that bill because it got into the crosshairs of the anti-wildfire maps people, and so there were several hundred statements of opposition to our little ADU bill in the record because people were confused. I think we cleared that up. We had a good hearing on Wednesday. Stay tuned. Work session, I think, coming up soon. Senate Bill 83 is the bill that repeals the wildfire maps. That's moved out of the Senate. It's going to go into the House. So just FYI, that is in process. Fully expect that to pass, be signed by the governor. The other bill I think I had on the list was House Bill 3069, which we've already talked about. So those were the other issues that I'd flagged.
Great, thank you so much. Any other topics? Anything else for this meeting from anybody? So we'll see if we can connect with Representative Kropp next week about the CJC dollars. And as I say, I'll be in town Tuesday, Wednesday a little bit, and we'll go from there. Have a great day, everybody.